Hi there, everybody. It's me, Elisa, spiritual medium and transformational life coach. Happy leap year, guys. I know that everybody's been focusing on the fact that 2020 is a new year and a new decade, but guys, it's also leap year. We have one more day to expand, express, create, and ignite that absolute highest best in ourselves. And so all week I am interviewing the wonderful mentors that helped me along the way, colleagues and friends who are also out there doing their absolute best and who also leaped into their highest best life as well. So without further ado, today my guest is author, teacher, writer, inspiring, manifesting dream, spiritual teacher, one of my deepest friends and mentors, and has been a dear mentor of mine for 6 years now, Anne Ribley. Anne Ribley, welcome and happy leap year. Thank you so much for joining us with all this leapspiration.
I know. Well, this is so perfect that it's this year because that's what this year 2020 is all about. It's really about lining up and matching up with what do we want to create. I call it, there's like a version of divine pairing, manifesting matching, really getting those integration of intentions and inspiration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so thank you so much for being a part of this Leapspiration week. And I just want to thank you so much for the expression and support that you've been for even this girl over the past 6 years. It started like with some of your moon rituals.
Yeah.
But you also have a wonderful program called the Soul Stamina Plan, which I have taken 3 times, mind you. Every time, it's almost like, you know, the book by Edgar Cayce, and they say read it from the back and read it from the front, and you'll get a different experience. You know, it's kind of like that for me. I'm like, every time I take the Soul Stamina Plan, I'm in a different level.
Yeah, because it's all about opening up yourself to yourself.
Exactly. So could you explain a little bit about Soul Stamina first, and then I would love to go into moon rituals as well, which some of the moon rituals are really about Soul Stamina as well, so it kind of intertwines.
Yeah. The Soul Stamina, it's like, that is the idea of what I believe is what is the foundation that we need. Most people will say, I have a soul, where you are your soul. And when the minute you start to just come to that place, it's like, now you're being present with your power. Now you're being present with where it all begins. So I say the soul is that spark of that truth, of that light, of that power of who you are. And so the stamina is this life that we have. I have a new book that I'm working on writing right now. And one of the phrases in it is soul, grit, growth. And when we know that our soul is where we begin, that spark of power of who we are. And the grit is that part of life that turns us upside down, takes us through all of these lessons and whatever we have to do to get on the other side or to be a part of that growth that we want in our lives. And that's where the stamina, the fortitude, the deep integrity of really being embodied into our life begins. And so the Soul Stamina Plan is really creating a plan for your life to deepen that. And I focus in on 7 core areas: your emotional body, your mental body, and your character body, because I think there's a lot of talk about mindset and all these things, and it all gets mixed up where when you start to understand that these are separate bodies that are running in us.
Right. Just
from that aspect. And then we have our relationship bodies, our physical body, and then our soul body, and then our, what I call, all of the worldly aspects that we're showing up for, our worldly worth body. So, and we incorporate ritual, which is where, like, the moon rituals, which is nature's synchronizing force that is naturally here. It's moving the ocean tides. It keeps life not getting stuck and stagnant, which is interesting. We'll notice that things start stirring up at around the time of these alignments of the full moon or the new moon. And this is because we're part of nature. And so we use that kind of synchronization and really looking at ourselves and getting ourselves back in tune with really how to be and stand with our posture, our soul posture in our life with soul stamina, and creating a plan from that.
That is beautiful. Thanks so much for explaining that. I actually grew each time I took soul stamina. It was almost like I needed and you're absolutely right with each core area.
Yes.
And it was like, oh wow, okay, now we're going to work on the emotional body, now we're going to work on this. And one thing I'd like to share with everyone is because this is leap year, and there's a lot of people probably who are out there who really want to live and expand and live their dream and live their passion and their purpose, and they're not quite sure how to even begin. And for me, back in 2014, I found you were an answer to a prayer from a car ride home from another event that kind of awakened me to my spiritual medium abilities. That, well, I was already awoken to them, but it was a message that I needed to get on the ball, and I really needed to step into this. So a prayer on the way home, I was asking for the absolute right medium, or the right mentor. And, I said, and I need her now or him now. And I got home, checked Facebook, and in 5 minutes, Miss, you were having a full moon ritual conference call. And I saw that, and it was like, it just aligned. I was like shaking, and I went, oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm on that call now.
Yeah.
I will, it was still 5 minutes away. And I was like, no, I'm dialing now.
Yeah.
And I'll wait 4 minutes, because this is exactly answered. I mean, in real time answered prayer.
Well, what you're saying actually demonstrates what I'm talking about, this incorporation of the moon is actually a synchronization, a natural synchronization. That's why a lot of times, uncomfortable emotions and feelings will stir, because they're wanting to be synchronized and balanced and assimilated in a different way in our lives. Our life is asking for something. So you met like that perfect serendipity synchronization. Yes. And it's like, people want to say, is it a coincidence? No, it's when energies begin to coincide. That's what coincidence is. It's energies coinciding. And so that's what brought us to that point. And that's why I love just teaching people how you can restore that, or you can be renewed or inside your own natural synchronization and rhythm into life. And that's why a lot of times one of the rituals I teach, I mean, there's lots of ways we can use rituals. And I often say, this is like one of the cornerstones in which I share in my work, is that we put so much focus on trying to change our habits, but our habits follow our rituals. So the quickest way to change a habit is to look at, okay, what's the ritual that I'm doing around that? And the minute we do that, that's our routines, that's the rhythm. We can shift a habit, because the habits will just start to follow it.
Absolutely. So beautiful. So for those who are watching this and inspired by you today, my love, how do they start? How would they begin? What would you, when you were looking, like we're going back 6 years ago, and you were looking at me, and I did not know where to even begin. Sad marriage, sad life, but knew I had these gifts and knew I wanted to launch and leap, but did not know exactly how to begin.
Yeah.
What would you say to me?
Well, I think inspiration is a truth teller. I don't think it's something that we have to muster up. And when you break down the origination of the word inspiration, it's in the spirit. So the minute we get in the spirit of our own true self and life, we know it, because all of our chemistry is even set up when we're inspired to feel good. It literally ignites within us. Everything in our emotional body and our mental body. And it can be hard to feel that sense of inspiration when we've been through a lot of hard times. It can begin to like cloud it, but it's always there, because being in the spirit of ourself, that's back to where it's that spark and that soul of us. So where I would tell somebody to begin is, I have in all the teachings that I do, I believe there's 4 elements that really make up what it means to embody this life that we are, you know, as a soul in this human physical experience. And in these 4 elements, you can just look at any one of them and begin with one of them. And if you incorporate them, I believe that that's where you can make a leap. So first is, and they can work in any order, and I'll explain that, is inspiration. Just start to let yourself be inspired. What are those intentions that begin to light you up? That's your soul speaking to you. That's your truth. That's your authenticity. That's that genuine power that's in you. And when you think about it from even our perseverance standpoint, with why all the feel-good chemicals start to just ignite when we have inspiration, is if we were to have to survive and we knew we're like hungry and thirsty, which is what we could feel in some area of our life. You know, we're not so much in the necessary of the physical survival like the way we were, you know, eons ago, but we were built this way. If we knew that we could get to a meal or we could get to water, and it was a half a day, an hour, we would begin to get inspired to get there. We would begin to get inspired, and our body would actually begin to support us. So that's why being inside of what really lights you up, what puts you in the spirit of yourself. See, that was you with your mediumship actually beginning to acknowledge, this inspires me. This lights me up. This is part of my light for the world. That's the first element. That's the fire element. That's that fire in us.
I love that. Yeah. And I also, again, I'm always forever learning, which I'm sure that's also your mantra too.
Yes. Yes.
And inspiration is in the spirit. I absolutely love that.
Yes.
And it just brings me back to all of that. So get to a place of creativity and imagination, because creativity and imagination is of the soul.
Yes.
And
yes.
I do remember when I was going through the soul stamina plan and following the conference calls that you had on the moon rituals. I drank everything in, because every time I got off a conference call, it felt so good, because I felt like, oh my goodness, I could create something. And as you create something,
yes.
for me, it felt like I was removing a non-essential that I had adopted that wasn't even really a part of my spiritual signature.
And you know, it's interesting how it works even when you're doing like what you're sharing with how I would incorporate this with the moon rituals. It's because when we're at a full moon or a new moon, it's an alignment time. The sun, the moon, and the earth are in alignment. That's where it's boosting, it's magnified, it's magnetic, and it naturally does that for ourselves. So we're like kind of working with like the ease of the nature that we're made of in our physical body. We're working with that ease, and we're making that alignment. That's why you were feeling it.
Oh, sure.
And we were working with it. It actually gives you a ride on a wave that's already natural to move with.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, you know, and the week that we are launching this interview, it's going to be the week of a new moon. But as you and I are talking today, we have a little bit of a celebration and an anniversary, because it's a full moon. But that week of February 23rd through February 29th, with the new moon ritual.
Yeah.
I loved that so much, because that was all about setting your intentions. Could you share and speak a little bit on that? Because that would be so good for those who are watching this week.
Yeah.
To start, it would be a good first step.
Yeah. You know what? Well, first I just want to say, when you start to take notice of this, you'll even notice that you'll begin to plan and do things. And then when you kind of look at the rhythm of the moon, the more in tune you get, you'll start to say, wow. I mean, I've had so many stories where people have like, they've closed on a house on a full moon, or sold a house on a full moon, moved into a new house on a new moon. It's just interesting how chapters and cycles will naturally get into rhythm. So it's, you know, it's a serendipitous, perfect coincidence that the energies are coinciding, that you did this leap year, leap forward inspiration is right at the new moon.
Right at the new moon. No coincidence. Yes.
So the new moon is when you don't see the moon. It's the same alignment. The full moon is when you see it, and the new moon is when you don't. It's the dark moon.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is inside that needs to be brought to the light. What are those dreams that you're holding inside that are still, you know, in the dark? And this is not in a negative or disempowering way. There just means that they haven't been brought out into the light, but they want to. They've been speaking to you. And so when we use that time, that is natural, of an introspective, going into the dark of our own dream creation and saying, what wants to manifest? That's ready, that's real. And you begin working with it. You begin using these cycles of naming it, what I call naming it and claiming it. And then, you know, the rituals that I teach are very simple, because I teach them so that the more something's complex, the harder it is to incorporate into a lifestyle or a routine or a ritual. So I teach how to do these moon rituals in a way that they can become part of your lifestyle. Because imagine if every time nature was synchronizing, the full moon and the new moon, and then we did that with ourselves, with what do I want to create, or what do I want to let go of? And being that this is on leap year, like, what do I want to make a leap with? What do I want to jump forward with? That what I call, you know, bringing dreams alive. Dreams alive. We are walking aliveness, ready to have dreams be brought forth. And that's what the new moon does. It's about that introspection of what do I want? And then you light your candle. There's like a couple simple steps you do to really prepare to drop into that sacred space with yourself. And then you light your candle as the light, the symbol of bringing those dreams into manifestation, bringing those intentions alive.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know I always get excited for either one of the rituals, the new or the full. But I know one time I think I had like almost 100 points of things I was intending that I had written down. And I love your philosophy on this. We have to put this in here. We have to make sure we say this. Pen to paper.
Yes, antenna to God.
Is antenna to God.
Yes. There is a powerful alchemy. It really does create a transformation. Yes, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I always say that. You got to get that simple, that you're really putting that antenna, attention, pen to paper, antenna to God. You do it, you know, just like that.
Exactly, because you could definitely just like talk them into your notes on your phone.
Yeah.
Not the same energy.
Yeah.
And so and that's what I always share with my clients too.
Yeah.
Pen to paper is antenna to God.
Yes.
And I remember one time I think I had shared like almost 99 to 100 powers of intention that I was, and then I had my lights all over it, and then I took a picture of it, put it on Facebook, and you responded and you're like, well, look at you go. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what was so funny was, and it's not funny because this stuff works. I always say TSW, this stuff works.
Yeah.
That everything that I had on that paper, just starting on those papers, starting to unfold. But what I really love is allowing my tea light to burn down all the way and burn out.
Yes.
So make sure you have time for that as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I totally so. And another thing that I absolutely love, and you made this beautiful pack of inspiration. I'll just share it here. Can you see?
Yep, the Monday mantra cards, mantras.
Yes, your Monday mantra cards. And I love that you put all this together, because for years you would have a mantra every Monday, and then you put them in beautiful cards. Let's see what I pulled here for today. Mantra for you. I love this one. I am the miracle I am longing for.
Yeah, I am the miracle I'm longing for.
I am longing for. And I love that. And that's another thing that I learned from you in so many ways, is that I am miraculous beyond measure.
Yes.
Yes. And I love that. And then you have the message on the back.
Mhm.
And one thing that I really loved was 2019 is when I got these.
Okay.
It was the Christmas of 2018, but for the 2019 year. And
Yeah.
my word was already beginning to be faith that year. And I look at the stone that was inside.
You got faith.
I got faith. No coincidence again.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that after inspiration, the next element is the air element, and that's what fans the flame of the fire, the inspiration. And that is faith, our faith, that frequency we're giving out, our focus on what do we want to bring forth, you know, and really tapping into that true sense of that deep faith within ourselves. So
Yeah.
I love that.
And it was quite a year of standing in truth and faith, for sure.
Wow.
So, and if anyone, I definitely suggest, if you want a blessing every week, guys, here you go, right here. It's on your website, correct?
Yes. And you know what's interesting about the Monday mantras is that I began this like not understanding this exact correlation. I discovered this again when you line up and you show up for what's really truly inspiring. You find out how all these energies just coincide and synchronize. So Monday stands for Moon Day every week on Monday, because that originates from, that's the movement of our week. That's the movement after we come out of the Sunday, which really stands for the sun, that day of rest and rejuvenating our energy and allowing that energy in. We go to how the days were named, and Monday is the Moon Day. And so when I came up with Monday mantras, it was like, this is so perfect, because this is like an intention. And how do I want to move through the week?
Absolutely. How beautiful is that? And I know that it's in my favorite quote mantra of yours. I know it's in here, but I don't have time to like look through it.
Yeah.
And help me with it. But I mean, and it was that first call that I had with you. You said it. That which
supports me boldly steps forward, and that which doesn't gracefully steps down.
Steps down.
And that is absolutely one of my most popular mantras that I wrote. And actually that came to me when I was really in the thick of some really hard times in my own life, where I was going through a divorce. I had a whole, financial, housing, everything was being dismantled and reshaped in my life.
Sure.
And when I didn't have my answers, I said, okay, that mantra came to me. That which supports me will boldly step forward, and that which doesn't will gracefully step down. And when you really allow that in, that flow of that mantra in, and you need an answer, you can say, boldly step forward. That which supports me, allow it to boldly step forward. And then when something maybe that you have an attachment to or an expectation to, like steps down, and you're like, what's going on? You're like, okay, that was a graceful step down. It doesn't have to go down in flames and all of this, time burning out that it wasn't going to work for me. Why don't I let it just gracefully step down and know that what's going to support me is going to boldly step forward? And so there's so many ways that you can use that to empower that leap.
Absolutely. There were many days that I had that written on a sticky note.
Yeah.
And stuck almost on every surface of my life to continue to remind me that I was on the path, and I needed to understand that I didn't have to see the whole path. I just had to see one step in front of me.
Yes.
And those things that weren't serving, they did just gracefully kind of wither. They kind of just fell to the side beautifully.
Well, we're all carrying mantras. It's the message we carry, and our cells are eavesdropping in on it. And so when we get a mantra like that for you, and you said you carried it around for years, and just repeating it and saying it and having it and seeing it everywhere, what happened is that became embodied now with the message you carry, and you don't have to think it. It now lives in your cells, and you can recognize it. And maybe, if you recall it because you want to remind yourself, but that's the beauty of a mantra. We're all having repetitive mantras that are happening, and we want those that are supportive.
Absolutely. And it does. It becomes you.
Yes.
It's a new truth that becomes you.
Yes.
That also kind of goes back to what you speak about, you bring about.
Yes. Right. Yes.
All right. So gosh, now for those of you who are watching, and for those who are watching and who want to really tap into all of this amazing, miraculous impact that you've been putting out there in the world, my love, where do we begin? Because I know we also have a few things coming, and again, there's no coincidence. So you've got things lining up with this interview that come in March.
Yeah.
People can sign up for. And I strongly, those of you who are looking for a miracle, go to AnnRibley.com, correct?
Yeah, Ann with an E.
And yes, and I'm always, when I'm typing, like, hello, my Ann with an E. I'm such an Anne of Green Gables fan. So I'm always, hello, Ann with an E. Ann with an E, AnnRibley.com.
Yeah.
And what are some of the exciting, I know Soul Stamina, you always have Soul Stamina, but you have some exciting things that you've added. And I'm really excited also about this Soul of Business School that you have as well. So please tell us all the wonderful things that are coming in and unfolding in the beginning of March, middle of March, and so on.
Well, I have a weekly podcast. I have a podcast that I do, and for sure, I do inspiration and insights and interviews, and I always post a Monday Mantra podcast on Remarkable Souls. It's Ann Ribley with Remarkable Souls, and so I'll talk a little. If you want more of an in-depth on the mantras that I put out on Monday, that I do that on the podcast, and then also so. Inside of that, I have a Remarkable Souls monthly membership. And inside there, I have access to a soul-inspired manifesting, because again, when that manifesting comes from the soul of you, it has power, it has magic. And so there's a whole course that you can really tap into. What do you want to create? What are those dreams that need to come alive? So there's a course of that's inside of Remarkable Souls, and it's priced so that it's accessible for really anybody's level of entry. And then I also have Nourishing Worthiness inside there, because I believe that worthiness already exists within us. There might be things that are in the way. And I don't necessarily believe that we really have a worthiness issue. It's already inherent in us, and it's just allowing it to come through. And so that is a course that's in there that's foundational to everything that we do. And then the Soul Stamina Plan is what's starting in, and that's going to be either part of Remarkable Souls, or someone could take it independently in March. So it's the Soul Stamina Plan for 2020. So it's going to be foundationally the same, but like nothing I've done previously for 2020. And then there's the Soul of Business. Now I've done this, the Soul of Business. I've done this on private clients, and I've done this on different limited groups, because a lot of times people would come to me and they would say, Ann, how did you build this course? How did you create your following? People would ask me questions. And so I've been self-employed and an entrepreneur my whole adult life. And so people are coming in and wanting to know. And one of the things before I got into the online platform, I owned a lifestyles newspaper for 18 years. And it was a readership. It had an annual circulation of over 1 million, and it was paid. And one of the cornerstones that actually made it successful is that paper had voice. And when something has its own voice and its unique voice, it has soul. And that is essential. That's the life force. And every business, when you tap into and actually get in touch with what's the soul of your business or a project, any of it, there's aspects to it. When you know that, that's where you really allow it to unfold in a sustainable way for yourself, because there's so much strategy out, especially right now out online. And I've watched with how it can be overwhelming. And when you you can demystify all that by getting tuned into letting the soul of your business, which is something separate than you. There's you. It's just like having a child. Like, they have their own soul. They have their own thing they want to become in the world. And when you understand that, and you allow the soul of your business to become what it wants to become, and let it speak, be known, then you can find your way to show up, and the right strategies and the right presentations begin to show themselves. So the soul of business has been, I've now bringing it about in a bigger way, because it's been so transformative for all the private clients I've done it for, and all of the in the small beta group that I did it for.
I love that. And while you were speaking, I was feeling some inspiration around that as well, with the soul of business and branding. You know,
Yes.
I've always, to me, it's not that I've been uncomfortable with the word brand, but
Yeah.
for me, it feels a little surface compared
Right.
to what and how I'm really stepping out into my own platform, my own purpose, my own practice. And so the way you lovingly expressed it as the soul of
Yeah.
your business.
Yeah, and your soul of your business actually has values that it wants out in the world. And I help people identify that. And when you understand those values, they're like, I call them 7 guiding values. The opposite of those values become the pain points of all the people who you want to reach are experiencing. So you actually, instead of like someone saying, oh, who are you talking to? And what are their pain points? It's so outside in. When you begin to let the soul of your business speak, your business begins to form itself from the inside out. And that's sustainable. And that is not like, you don't end up off course. You end up having the guardrails to your own business to say, this is the course.
This is the course. Exactly. I mean, and a lot of times when people are talking about marketing and branding and everything like that, if you continue to just stay aligned within, and I always call, Mondays are usually I call them my manifesting days.
I love that. I love that.
Manifesting.
Yeah.
And so, and that's because I've known stepping into a soul-based platform in my business is what matters the most to me. And using some of these mainstream words, they don't seem to fit with the signature of my soul when I'm out there trying to share my gift with the world.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another piece that is really big, is when you know the soul of your business, then the natural extension is it shares.
Beautiful.
And that's what you want to be. You want to be sharing.
Yes.
You don't want to be having to claw and scratch at trying to sell. You want to be having an extension. And that's how it works when the soul of the business is really vital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I also see here, did I also see that, and this may be in your one program, but you have the nourishing wholeness. Did we?
Worthiness.
Oh, so we did, Kia. Yeah. It's a 21-day program.
Oh, no, that's a prosperity pathway. Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
Yes, because I was about to say there's one more thing, and I wasn't quite sure which one it was in my notes here.
Yeah, the prosperity pathway is a 21-day mantra challenge on prosperity, and it's inside my Remarkable Souls. And I love that you brought it up, because I wanted to bring that aspect to it when we talked about inspiration. A lot of people don't understand that the word prosperity is pro-spirit. So it's pro the spirit of you. Prosperity is when you are living a prosperous life, you're living something that's pro the spirit of you. That's really the origination of that word. So the 21-day prosperity challenge is a way to work with very specific mantras, certain meditations, certain journal prompts for 21 days that you actually get to work and let this just embody the prosperity into the whole neural pathways, into your aura pathways, out into the aura that radiates from you, into all, so that you can really be in alignment with the prosperity that wants to come forth for you. That is thriving. That's flourishing. And we're meant to flourish and thrive.
Beautiful. Beautiful, my friend. Oh my goodness. And I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a beautiful, expansive expression of Leapspiration Week.
Yeah, I am so happy to be a part of this. And I love all the work you're doing. And it's just so beautiful to see you just, I've watched you just so blossom into yourself.
Oh, Anne, thank you. Thank you so much. And I tell you what, I got by with a little help from my friends.
I love it.
The unseen entourage that led me to you.
Yes.
And I am so forever grateful And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. For those of you who want to learn more about Anne's work, AnneRibley.com. And before we leave, I played a little game with Nick Demas before we left. I kind of asked him what his quirky, some of what his little quirky things were that he liked. I feel like what I'd love to ask you, Anne, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You are such an expert on seasonal rituals. I know sometimes I'll get a Facebook private message back from you sometimes, or an email back from you, and you'll talk about, oh, I've just enjoyed, good morning, my dear, I've just enjoyed my morning ritual. I've enjoyed this ritual, I've enjoyed that. What, my dear Anne Ribley, Anne with an E.
Yes.
What's your favorite daily ritual?
I would have to say I enjoy a nice warm cup of something that's nurturing for me, and doing my 3 pages of journaling that I do in the morning. I do morning pages. I really talk about this too inside the Soul Stamina Plan. I'm a better person. It's a way to clear the consciousness. It comes from Julia Cameron's Artist Way, because we're all creators. And when we begin our morning by just doing 3 pages, they don't have to make sense. You don't have to dive into it. It's just 3 pages of clearing the consciousness. And I love it. I've been doing that since maybe 2006. So yeah, that's 14 years. Every day I've done 3 pages. That's been the one ritual that has stuck with me. That's the one that I'm really, it's just embodied now with how I live. I'm a better person because of, and I say that to, and this is really important for people who are empaths. They have very empathic feelings for others, creative people. I mean, it's transformative. Yeah.
Yes. And then thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing that. And then one thing that I feel like this helps me these days, because I'm out there spiritually dating.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were sharing, when you met your love, Jack, or he, that you actually manifested. You didn't have time to go on dates and go through the whole process. And trust me, I had a summer of, wow, I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
And you actually had intended to.
I had a mantra.
You had a mantra.
That's right. I had a mantra. And what it was is because I had went through my divorce and I had small children, and it felt overwhelming for me to think about how am I going to even open up that next chapter in my life. And what I would say to myself, what came to me was, love will come to my home. Now that was what was true for me.
Yes.
And love will come to my home. And I would just say it again and again and again, whenever my mind would go to a place where it would start thinking about the future and worrying. And I just say, love will come to my home. Love will come to my home. And then lo and behold, him and I worked on a project online, and he came in through way of Skype, because that was the main source then.
Sure.
And then all, started unfolding and sparking from there. And it was literally like love did come to my home. I have a new mantra that I wanted to share that I came across from a movie that I thought, this is a great mantra for someone who wants to find love right now.
Sure.
And this is because I was listening to this podcast about people, and it didn't pertain to where I'm at in my life, but I thought this is a great mantra. And so this came from a movie and I wrote it down. It's always a great time to fall in love.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh my goodness. I'm drinking that in, my love.
It's always a great time to fall in love.
It's
and
always
that
a great time.
I wrote that down for February, because there's so many ways we can use that in our life. And I think that takes out the feeling like it's a lot of work.
Sure.
And it takes out when you're looking for love, or it just takes out that it can happen. It's always a great time to fall in love. I was so happy when I found this, because a lot of times people want to hear about my love story and that mantra. And maybe that mantra, it worked for me, but I loved having another mantra when I found this, that it was just a line out of a movie. Right. And it was someone who wasn't expecting to fall in love. And that's what she said. It's always a great time to fall in love. And I'm like, that's a mantra that I could share with others.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Absolutely. And again, I'm enjoying though. I am actually enjoying and I'm definitely calling it spiritual dating because
Nice.
I am learning so much as I step in and I meet new people and I realize what boldly serves and then what doesn't,
Right.
what gracefully doesn't. And so thank you so much though. But your story, and at the time I was still exiting a very sad time in my life,
Yeah.
where I was married, but I really felt like I wasn't being validated and I wasn't being loved. And that's where I started with hosting Love Notes from Heaven on February 14th, because he would always find his way out of town. And I thought, well, you know what? I need to step back into the love somehow. And I really feel like your story with Jack kind of inspired me. I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to find love. If I can't experience love at this moment, I'm going to be it.
You know, I love that story, and I've been wanting to share this with you because before, when I went through my divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and then before I'd met Jack, like I was with somebody, my former husband, that he would only show up for like the holidays. He would only show up for these events, but all the other times he was like checked out. I was like, yeah, he would make dinner like once a year on Thanksgiving. It was
Sure.
like,
Sure.
not even that that's a requirement. I'm just saying that. And then, Valentine's was a big, spectacle, but it was like where all the other times there was a lot of invisibility, absent.
Sure.
So for me, when I was going through my divorce before I'd met Jack, I decided on Valentine's, it's the same thing, that was going to be my day of love and sharing love. That's why I loved your story when you posted. I've been wanting to share this with you,
Oh,
where I was going to find, put together some love baskets, and I was going to share them and give them with friends of just people that I feel that love for. And I even started with my kids at that time, and they got spoiled because like one Valentine's went by when they're teenagers now and older, and they're like, "Where's our Valentine's gift?" But it was, but I love how we can take this, instead of feeling like we're missing out, we can show up inside that which we want to bring more in, and how that was so healing for you, right?
oh, it really was. Absolutely. I would drive home, especially from the first event. I was like, oh my goodness, I feel such an expression of love right now.
Yeah,
Nothing else matters. And
I know.
yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that as well.
Yeah, so when I saw your story, I wanted to share this with you about how that was how I started getting myself really in tune with like the love I had to share, the love of who I am, and sharing that with others. And it's funny because my first Valentine's, when I did this, I had a special candle that I had bought for special friends. And this was before I was sharing how to do moon rituals online. And I gave them to them for the new moon.
Mm.
I said,
Oh, I
here,
love
yeah. So that was like a Valentine's gift that I had given to a handful of special friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this extra bonus with us. It's just you've been such a delight, and it's always when we first popped on with Zoom, I said I've just got to take a moment. I got to drink this in. I'm so grateful for you for stepping out into your truth and showing up the way you do, Ann Ribley. And for those of you who are watching, this is your year to leap into your highest, brightest vision for yourself. 2020's clear vision, guys.
Yes.
It's time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Please check out Ann's site, and much love, light, and insight.
Yes. Bring dreams alive.
Oh,
Namaste.
absolutely.